Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a big day for one of our little angels, Harmony Renee, also known as Harmony Montgomery. Her father gets sentenced today, and we're going to watch it live right after this. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Evidence. This is the channel where justice matters. My name is Marv. I am a true crime fanatic, and I love to dig deeper into the mysteries of unsolved cases. Join me as we search for missing persons, uncover the clues in unsolved murders, follow along with jury trials, and will be a voice for the voiceless. I'll share with you the facts, the theories, the clues, the evidence, and the controversies that surround these cases. This is Beyond the Evidence. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today we have a big sentencing day. It is the sentencing of Adam Montgomery. Our little angel, Harmony Renee, as she is now being called, as you know, went missing in 2019. And 5 years later, we're finally going to get justice. Today, her father is in court. Judge said, no, you're not going to skip this. You are going to be here for sentencing. And he mandated it and made sure. We have gotten confirmation that Adam is in the courthouse and he is there for sentencing. So, just a reminder of this case. As we all know, beautiful little 5-year-old Harmony went missing from New Hampshire in 2019. She was not reported missing for over 2 years. It was her mother's diligence that got police looking into the case as to where little Harmony went. After many years, we now know what happened to Harmony. Her father took her life in a brutal fashion by beating her in the back seat of the car. This coming from Harmony's stepmother, Kayla. Her testimony is what put the nail on Adam's coffin. As brutal as it was to listen to, it's even harder to imagine. I think back to this case, and we have been talking about this case for years now, and today Harmony is finally going to get justice. Keeping eyes peeled. Hi, Marv. He needs to own up for his actions. I'm glad they made him show up. Exactly. I agree 100%. So the hearing is supposed to start, sentencing is supposed to start here in about 11 minutes. Until then, let's do a brief review. Like I said, she went missing in 2019. Adam was convicted of murder. Prosecutors are seeking a sentence of 56 years to life. And I have to say, sorry about that, he was convicted of second-degree murder in the death of Harmony. She was finally reported missing in 2021. And even though we are celebrating this win today with him getting sentenced for her unaliving, We still need people in New Hampshire and around those areas to help find this missing little girl's body. We know that it is in the CMIC bag. It's a white tote bag. So it's important that after we conclude with today, that anybody and everybody who can go and search those areas for this precious little girl. She needs to have a proper burial. Good morning, Cheeks. How are you? Same time around Summer Wells. Yep. Hi, Rescue All the Dogs. Yes, you got that right. He can go straight there. No, they did not find her. They are still searching for her remains. So, I think the most tragic part of all of this is that this little girl had people that wanted to adopt her. She had the woman the foster mother, that took care of her on and off for the first 2 to 3 years of her life. She would have taken Harmony. You also have the couple that adopted Harmony's little brother. They would have gladly taken Harmony. They wanted Harmony. So you had 2 different couples wanting this child. And yet the state put her with her father. And this man had a substantive background already. Drugs, violence, all of that. And they still put her with the father. I hope that when all of this is done, said and done, that CPS, the courts, something's done about the decision that they made, because had they made the right decision, this little girl would still be here today. Precious little girl. So as you all know, Adam, throughout the trial, did not show up. At his first trial for the gun charges, he made the statement that he was looking forward to showing everybody his innocence and that he did not unalive his daughter. Well, when it came time for that trial, he was a coward. Didn't even show up one day for that trial. Well, the prosecutor and the judge are putting him in his place today because he is there. He has to be there. They mandated it. So as you all know, in the trial, his attorneys did acknowledge his guilt on 2 lesser charges, and that was that he purposely and unlawfully removed, concealed, or destroyed her corpse and falsified physical evidence. However, the jury came back on second-degree murder charges and found him guilty. Now, investigators believe the poor little Harmony was beaten in December of 2019 and laid in the back seat of the car where her life ended. She took her last breaths in the presence of supposed family, but was all alone underneath a blanket. That judge on Jameson's case, yeah, I agree. As you all know, what was done to Harmony in that car was horrific. But as we heard, what was done to her afterwards was even worse. Her body was moved from location to location. It was taken out and put into a freezer to freeze, and then taken out to thaw, to compress her body even further into that bag. And eventually, Adam took her somewhere and placed that bag in the ground, in water. We don't know. But we do know that police and the state of New Hampshire are not giving up. They continue to search for this bag and for Harmony so that she can have a proper burial. And she deserves it. Her whole family deserves to have a place to go to honor that little girl and remember her. It is a CMIC bag. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Here we go. I'm downloading it right now. There we go. This is, oh, I'm sorry, CMC bag. So this is the bag that everybody would be looking for. In court, they had a replica of the bag that she was put in. And this is what it looked like. So this is what everybody is looking for. All right, so I've got the screen up. We're waiting for this to start. Once this starts, we will be listening to the whole sentencing. So what else? So in the end, Kayla Montgomery got 18 months in prison after pleading guilty to perjury charges related to the investigation. She did cooperate with the prosecutors, and they did give her basically an agreement. The plea agreement stated that if she lied at any time during her testifying on this case, they would charge her just like Adam Montgomery. As we all know, she has gone through a hearing, and she is getting released on parole. As of right now, she does not have custody of her children. She has not been in contact with her children, but that doesn't mean that she won't in the future. She can petition the courts to get custody of her kids again, even though she gave them up and signed off her rights. All right, just making sure my volume is working. We're taking a look at the courthouse. Oh, looks like they were just scanning around for a minute. So how many of you have been following this case since the beginning or close to the beginning? In 2021, we were all notified that she was missing, and that is when I started following this case. And I think the thing that bothers me the most is that this all happened because this little girl was sent to live with her father, for one, like I said, by the courts and Family Child Services. Number two, they lost their home that they were living in. They were living in a car. And she was having bathroom accidents in the car, which is understandable. It's not like she has a house with a bathroom in it where she can go at any time she needs to. She had to rely on her father and stepmother to take her two-way bathroom. And if you're a little girl that is already fearful of your father and your stepmother does nothing to help you, you're not going to tell them you have to go to the bathroom. And that's what is so sad. Very sad. And I feel so bad for her mother because her mother loved her. Crystal absolutely loved her and wanted her back, was trying to do everything she could to get her back. And now she's without her daughter. Oh, that would be a great thing. Rescue All the Dogs is for Crystal to meet Carrie. I agree. Two mothers that would know what each other's feeling. I agree with you grismatically that she doesn't deserve parole, but she got it. And she got the lighter sentence because without her testimony, they would have never been able to convict Adam. So it was the lesser of two evils, basically, in this case. And that's a shame because Kayla did absolutely nothing to help that little girl. Absolutely nothing. And in my eyes, she's just as guilty as he is. Yet she gets to walk around free here in a little bit. But if you believe in karma, like I do, once an addict, always an addict. Unless you truly work on it every single day and fight your demons. I don't know that she's going to be able to do that. So we may see her in jail yet again. Yes. Think love. Absolutely. I'm curious to see who all is going to give a victim impact statement today. I would assume that Crystal Sari is, but there might be others. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And I can't wait for the judge to hand down the sentence and for this man to know that he is never going to get out of prison. Between his previous sentencing and this sentencing, he should be able to, they should be able to keep him there until the day he dies. Oh, Jameson is going to give a statement, or at least his adopted father's on his behalf. Well, if you think about it, Harmony would be 10 now. She was 5 then when she went missing. It's been 5 years since we've been waiting for this justice. I don't know if Jameson a year younger than her or 2 years younger than her. So he would be about 8 or 9 right now. I would hope that his fathers would give the statement on his behalf. That's a lot for a little boy to stand up there and talk about his sister and the way she died. Hi, Andrea. How you doing? But I'm sure that the comments from the judge are going to be pretty... I hope they're brutal. I hope he tells Adam like it is, and what a monster, an evil monster he truly is for doing this to his child. And I hope he gets the maximum sentence. And like I said at the beginning of the live, that is the prosecutors are going for 56 years to life. And if that's the case, like I said, he will never get out. And he shouldn't ever get out. He was already given too many breaks on his prior charges, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, Jameson, I believe, would be 8 now. So you attended parts of this trial. Oh my goodness. What was that like? That would be so hard to do in a case like this. Any case dealing with a child. Yeah, raw. I bet. At the things that you heard and saw firsthand. It's different for us. We're behind a screen, but when you're sitting in that courtroom and you're listening to the things being said and the evidence being shown, I can imagine absolutely raw. You grow up in Manchester? Nobody ever thinks it'll happen. And really, in society, we say that. I never thought it would happen here, but it's happening everywhere. Nowhere is safe. Nowhere. These monsters live and prey on our kids, on their own kids, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. I think if I won the lottery, I would take that money and buy a big house and take in as many of these kids as I could so that they could live good lives. Awesome, I'll do that. And thank you for sharing that. I'm going to see if I can find your wall. And share your link here. You just got a new subscriber. Here is her channel. Aww. Beautiful little girl. I think these are some of the best pictures of her, is her just being silly, and you often wonder, how could she have smiled? Oops, hit the wrong button. But she did. She smiled. She was happy. There were times, at least, that she was happy. But I'm assuming a lot of these pictures come from Crystal and not Kayla and Adam. Yeah. Aw. Look at that big smile. Absolutely. She did live a great life with her foster parents and with her mom. She seemed happy with her mom, too. Thank you for letting me show those. Absolutely beautiful. All right, Court, let's go. It's just amazing how you can think of these kids and they're happy with one parent or even foster parents. They're living the life that they should have been living all along. And then that all gets snatched away from them. And they get put into a situation like Harmony did with a man who didn't even who didn't truly love her. She was his next fix. The money that he got from having her there helped them get their next fix. That's all it was. And so she wasn't loved, she wasn't supported, she wasn't nurtured, that's for sure. But she's getting that today. I truly and firmly believe that. Because she is in the presence of God and he's going to take care of her. He's going to make sure that all of that hurt is washed away and that she is happy and loved and nourished and protected. It's just sad that that didn't happen here. This is what gets me, is that he was a habitual offender. No one did anything. Nothing. And how he got her with that record in the first place, I'll never know. He should have never got custody of her. But if you listen to Keela's testimony, he could schmooze and act right and fool people into believing that he was recovered and decent and everything else when he wasn't. And that is what the courts have to start looking at. The judge should have retired. He should have guilt on his conscience, too. I mean, he had all this. He had to have had all this information. They do a full background check. And this judge still gave him this little girl. For a minute there, I thought the screen was frozen. And these stories keep getting worse and worse. You go from Harmony to Elijah Vu and so many others. So many others. Audrey Cunningham, Michael Vaughn, where is he? We still don't know where he is. Baby Amaya from Indianapolis. I do have an update on that case, and I will be doing an update show tomorrow night on several of the cases that we have covered here. Harmony's Law. Yes, we can absolutely do that. Uh-oh. Moved the wrong screen. Hang on. Okay. Well, that isn't what I wanted. There we go. So according to this article, several laws actually have been changed in New England. In the wake of the little girl's disappearance, the state of New Hampshire has made changes to its laws to prevent similar cases in the future. So, new legislation has been passed to update what's called the Interstate Compact on the Placement of Children law, originally founded in 1965. It's federally recognized compact between all states in which participants work together to ensure the safety and stability of placement of children and youth across state lines, just like what happened in this case. Last year, the state also finalized a provisional placement agreement with the state of Massachusetts, which creates deadlines on information that is swapped between the two states if a child is crossing borders. Which is big, because in this case, you had two states that weren't talking to each other, weren't reporting information in a timely manner. Looks like another one here. So, spurred to act by a recent murder case, which we're assuming is Harmony, the New Hampshire House voted Thursday to require those charged with serious crimes to be present when they learned their fate. Yeah. Well, we know he's going to be present today. So there have been, so New Hampshire is not, I thought California was bad with Gabriel Fernandez and Anthony, and I cannot think of his last name. All of a sudden, there were several children in that vicinity that were unalived by their parents. But it says here, recently, New Hampshire has seen another devastating loss. The death of a 7-year-old boy who was also under the protection of DCYF. His death and others in the past several years have led to questions of whether the state is doing enough to protect its most vulnerable residents. Brielle Gage was 3 years old when she was beaten to death by her mother. In August 2014, her mother was sentenced to 45 years to life in prison. Sadie Scott was 21 months old when she died in September 2015 from 2 blows to the head. Her mother, Caitlin, is serving 21 to 42 years in prison. Dennis Vaughn Jr., also known as Boo, was found on Christmas Eve of 2019. The Attorney General's office ruled the 5-year-old was killed by blunt force trauma to his head and neck. No suspects have been named in his death. So the other parental figures in these cases later sued DCYF, accusing the agency of failing to investigate claims of abuse ahead of their children's death. The case brought by Boo's mother is ongoing. DCYF saying its investigation was adequate. The other 2 cases have been settled. Wow. On New Year's Eve, 2021, the state would come to know Harmony, a 5-year-old girl who seemingly disappeared while under the surveillance of DCYF after she moved to New Hampshire from Massachusetts to live with her father. So here it says the review of Harmony's case came with a list of 10 recommendations for system improvements. 2 are considered continuous practices of the agency. 3 are ongoing, and 5 recommendations are listed as complete, including new legislation to enhance the interstate compact on the placement of children. So it does state there is a challenge, and that challenge is 36 states have to pass it before it becomes effective. And right now, only 15 or 16 states have passed it. Oh, we're going to get a glimpse. Yep, there he is. All right, I just wanted to make sure that the volume is on. He did gain weight. Doesn't look, well, as cocky walking in.
Please be seated. Council approach.
Well, we got a little bit of sound.
216-2022 CR20 and 216-2022 CR2272. Looks like the council's correct.
Did he get a new tattoo on his
Benegatti
back?
for the state.
Caroline Smith with the public defender. All right. Good morning. One moment, please.
Please let me know that you can hear this and that the sound is working. Right now it's muted, but they were just talking. Okay, good. I don't remember if he had that tattoo on his neck at his last trial. Something tells me that that is new. Still has the teardrop one, though. That's not going to help you after today, Adam Montgomery. There has been reports that after his conviction, that he was beat up in jail once already. Yeah. What do you think, guys? Doesn't look that cocky today. More stone-faced than anything. Not smiling. Just kind of... Yeah, cheeks. I'm sure it will. They don't like men like him there. Yeah, I wouldn't cry for him either. As far as I'm concerned, he's got everything coming to him for what he did to that precious little girl. He's intently listening to what is going on between the judge and the lawyers. They're having a sidebar at the judge's bench. That's why we can't hear anything. We don't get to listen to those. That's going to bug me. That was one of Jameson's fathers, yes. Oh, do not.
The
do
first step to tackling your credit card debt is
All right, everyone. I gotta jump out and jump back in because so I'm gonna leave the studio and then come right back in. I'll be right back.
You are ready, Attorney Gotti. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Okay. Can everybody hear it?
Your Honor, as you know, the defendant has been found guilty of beating Harmony Montgomery in July of 2019, guilty of murdering Harmony Montgomery, a child under the age of 13, and then transporting and hiding and abusing her body and compacting her into smaller and smaller bags and ultimately disposing of her on March of 2020, and tampering with witnesses afterwards to ensure that this horror story that we heard at trial stayed silent. Under our law, after the second-degree assault, after what he did to her and the other crimes to hide other acts to hide his crimes, under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive for second-degree murder of a child under 13 is at least 35 years in prison. So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man? How can the minimum ever apply when he beat Harmony the night before and the morning of, and time again as he drove from the methadone clinic to Burger King and he beat her to death and then covered her up to suffer and die in the car while he ate his food? The state's position is, how can the minimum ever apply when this court recognized at the last sentencing hearing that he had 15 years of convictions for, quote, some of the most violent and egregious criminal behavior, end quote, that this court had ever seen? How can the minimum ever apply when he's lied over and over again that he didn't kill his daughter and that she was safe somewhere when he was first asked by many different people? How can the minimums ever apply when he conceded at trial the crimes that involve the horrors that he inflicted upon her body from December 7th on forward up and until March, when he dumped her from the U-Haul that he had conned others into renting for him? How can the minimum ever apply when he's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to tell investigators and others where she is right now, and she can't be laid to rest? There's nothing minimal about the crimes that he's being convicted for today.
Exactly.
The state is not going to restate everything that's put forth in the state's sentencing memorandum word for word. The state's recommendation at this time is that the defendant serve 4 to 8 years, stand committed for the crime of second-degree assault, which occurred in July of 2019, and that should then be followed by consecutive sentences of 3.5 to 7 years for his falsifying physical evidence, for what he did to Harmony's body, with a concurrent sentence of 12 months for the abuse of corpse misdemeanor, followed by another consecutive 3.5 to 7 years for witness tampering, for beating his spouse to ensure that she would stick to the story he created, followed by not less than a minimum of 45 years to life from the charge of second-degree murder. The state recognizes that this is just a recommendation. The decision today lies with the court, regardless of what the state says. But that's the state's recommendation today. However, Your Honor, if the defendant will right now tell us where he hid her body, sufficient for us to find her, if he'll tell us right now where he put that CMC bag, so that her family and the Manchester Police Department can recover her remains in the next 7 days, then the state would amend its recommendation to a minimum of 35 years to life and let the second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a course, and witness tampering sentences be served concurrent. But right now, Your Honor, if he tells us where we can recover her and we do so within the next 7 days, we will change our recommendation to 35 years.
You go, prosecution. Find that little girl. He won't tell him, though. What are you going to do,
Since
Adam?
that offer has been rejected, Your Honor, that is
Reject
yet
it.
another reason why the minimum should not apply. What I just said was not a stunt. It was not a theatrical event.
Nope. Rejected.
I stated in closing arguments that there are moments in life where we are tested, where our failure or our success lies in whether we do the right thing at that moment in time.
Yeah, it is.
And time again, and about 30 seconds ago, the defendant chose again to be heartless and immoral and selfish and unapologetic, which for the purposes of you deciding his punishment and rehabilitation and his deterrence and coming up with the right sentence for him means that he has just yet shown you again in this courtroom, and for anybody else, that he is heartless, immoral, selfish, and an unapologetic murderer of his own child.
Yeah.
Now, I was saying again, there's certainly nothing minimal about what he did to Kayla Montgomery, to abusing her into lying for him. There's simply nothing minimal about what the defendant did to Harmony and what he did afterwards. And that's why now, having just 45 is a bare minimum that this defendant deserves for what he did to Harmony. She is gone forever. She didn't get sick and get old and pass away. Something didn't just happen that night. He happened. She wasn't able to be surrounded by the people that loved her. And instead, when this court determines punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation, it should consider that Harmony died in pain and in fear under a blanket. And nobody deserves that, especially a 5-year-old child. And that kind of death is different and weighs in favor of more than the minimum sentence here. You can, if there was a thief here, you could order the return of stolen property, or you could order restitution. When you sentence a defendant for an assault case, the victim can receive treatment and compensation for her injuries. But in a murder case, there's nothing directly that this court can do for Harmony. She's already ultimately paid the price of the defendant's anger and cruelty and frustration. But what can be done is recognize the value of her life and the terrible way she died by giving the defendant a significant prison sentence.
That's
something
right.
more than just the minimum. And certainly not the sentence that the defendant may ask you for in a few moments. You can make sure that he's not going to hurt another child. You can do that for Harmony. And in that process, you'll also be doing justice for the people who cared about Harmony, for the many people that worked hard to hold her killer accountable. Except most of those people, several of them are in the courtroom today. Many more are out there. Some who are present here today would like a chance to address the court, Your Honor. Most notably, and I think has to be first and foremost, Your Honor, is Harmony's biological mother, Crystal Sword. She's present here today. She has prepared a victim impact statement that we have written that we can provide to the court afterwards, but we would like her to be able to speak to you and present her thoughts.
Should we do so?
You tell them, Crystal. Tell them off. Everything you've been holding in, tell them.
Thank you.
to the monster who murdered my baby. I did not kill my daughter, and I look forward to trial to refute those offensive claims. That is all you have said about my sweet daughter's life. Another lie, like all the other ones you've told. Like the cover story you told that you dropped her off with me, knowing full well and good if you had, she would be thriving right now. Not beaten and stuffed in a CMC bag where you put her. She had a life worth living, unlike your own. And it bothered you to your core that she was nothing like you and everything like me. Beautiful inside and out, funny, smart, sassy, loving, and most of all, kind. She wasn't a coward like you, and I'll be forever grateful for that. You're a coward who has to be in control of everything and everyone around you, insecure and paranoid. The list goes on. She is none of those things. She lit up a room when she walked in. She made a mark wherever she went, and you couldn't stand it. She was an incredible big sister. She loved her brother, Jameson, to her core, and I know she loved your sons too, no matter the picture you tried to paint of her. December 7th will forever be the darkest day of my life. The night you beat her to death, I woke up in the middle of the night in agonizing from my head to my toes, and I felt like I was dying, not knowing, in the most brutal way, a part of me was dying. Suffering in that back seat for 20 minutes while you and your wife fed yourselves and your other children, and you got high. 20 minutes that you could have used to save her life. Did she cry for me? Did she scream? Did she beg you to stop? I'll never know. Because like I said, you're too much of a coward to tell the truth and do one good thing for Harmony. You may have taken her physically from me, but she is always, always with me. And I will forever look for her until the end of my days. But I hope that every day and every night you are on this earth, you hear nothing but my baby's giggle. I doubt you ever heard it in this life. All she knew with you was misery and fear. I hope you hear her sweet voice telling you to stop hitting her over and over, or how she looked the very last time you saw her, broken and bruised. You were supposed to protect her, yet you did the opposite. Harmony wasn't anything to you but property that you could throw away when she was more of a burden to you than a meal ticket.
Yeah.
Your hatred for me led you to act on your monstrous, controlling ways, and you took her because you just could not let her come home where she belongs. My love for Harmony outweighs my hatred for you, but they both gave me the strength to listen to my instincts and to help the police put you away forever. Harmony will live on through me, and you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything to stop it. I wish you nothing but pain and misery for the rest of your pathetic life, and with or without you, we will find my daughter. I always knew you weren't a good person, which is why I left you. I just never knew to what extent, but now I know you're just plain evil.
Whew. You got that right. Everything she said was right on, and he is not happy about it.
In addition, another member of Harmony's family was Miss Brittany Sorey, her aunt. She would also like to address the board.
This is going to be her aunt.
To the most vile human on the planet. The day Harmony was born is the day that will forever feel like it was just yesterday. My sister was in labor and you were in prison. Always keeping you posted. I remember that phone call with you right after she was born and they were both in the recovery room. I was talking you down from how scared you were because you just wanted to be the best dad. And I believed in you and reminded you how good you were with my daughter, that you would be the best dad and not to worry. I couldn't even believe how wrong I actually was.
Yeah.
You are a monster, Adam, not the monster who's in your nightmares or the ones that terrify you when you're little. You're the monster that pretends to be a daddy and then brutally abused, tortured, and beat your 5-year-old daughter to death for the accidents you caused by locking her in a room 24/7, traumatizing her and making it blatantly clear that she could not trust, count on, or come to you when she needed someone. You didn't fight for her for 4 years like you had Kayla claim on your behalf. You lied and you forged documents. You did it to have control again over something in my sister's life. You never for 1 second loved Harmony, because if you did, she'd still be here today. You wanted to control her, and when you couldn't, over and over again, because she reminded you of my sister, you took her from us because you didn't want anyone else to have her. More proof of the absolute coward you are. The fact that you sat in court at your gun trial, like my sister said, and tried to use Harmony for some sympathy by saying you cannot wait to refute the offensive claims that you killed your daughter and you didn't and you loved her. Jury selection day, you showed up smiling at the jurors, proving exactly how evil you are. Then tell the judge the day of opening statements that you did all but kill her and expect a bunch of people to believe yet another lie from you. Because your egotistical ignorance makes you believe you are somehow smarter than anybody. You have the nerve to claim to be a victim of the disease of addiction and how it destroyed your life and all the crybaby stories you tell. The fact is this: you are a selfish, evil, conniving, poor excuse for a human being, and I hope you sit in prison every day while she haunts you day and night until it's unbearable, because that's what you deserve. I used to call you my brother. We used to talk about everything. I've seen you break down and cry and open your heart up to me. Even when you first got Harmony, I messaged you and I told you that I would help in any way if I can, if you needed it for Harmony and wanted to be a part of her life. And just like anyone else that reached out, you blocked me. You had so many chances to change the result and let her go with people that loved her, but you didn't, because you knew she would have told all about the abuse, so you killed her. If you're any type of man at all, Adam, or you ever loved her for 1 second, you would tell us where she is, so at least she can rest in peace after everything you put her mind, body, and soul through. Regardless, karma will get even, because you don't destroy such a beautiful soul the way you did and not reap what you sow. So let it be.
So let it be. Whew. How do you like it now? You're not in control now.
This particular event, who is not present here in the courtroom today, but is the victim of the crime, that is the victim of the crime of witness tampering, is Ms. Kayla Montgomery. She has prepared a statement. We've submitted there. We will be submitting that to the court as well. It has been provided to the defense counsel. She has asked a victim advocate to please read the statement for her.
If the victim advocate could please state her name for the record, and also the Kayla Montgomery's statement.
Certainly.
Ooh.
My name is Amy Van Auken, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of Kayla Montgomery. Goodbye. I wanted to write a letter to you because it's the only way to tell you how I feel. I don't know about you, but I need some kind of closure. I will forever have a place in my heart for you, whether you believe me or not. You were my best friend, my husband, the person I chose to spend the rest of my life with. You are the father of our children we have together, and I'm forever grateful for having them. I will never forget the birth of our first son we have. That was one of the many best days of my life. We had just gotten married and started a family of our own. I'll never forget when your grandmother said to me, "You're the best thing that has ever happened to my grandson." I will always remember the births of all the children we have. Also, when you stepped up to be a father to Harmony. You worked so hard to get custody of her, and it took a few years, but you got her. I won't forget the day we picked her up and brought her home. We were so excited. Then, during the summer, was when we both started to go downhill because of relapse. After 5 years of sobriety, that was the beginning of the chaos. By the time Thanksgiving came around in the year 2019, we were losing everything. My job, our place to live, and after living in a car for a few weeks, we lost that. At the same time, Harmony dies because of your anger and hitting her so many times. We didn't even know she passed away until the car died, and we had to take our kids out of the car. She didn't respond. She was lifeless. Then a couple years go by, and during those years, we had to keep quiet about her being gone. You told me to stick with the story that you dropped her off at 6 a.m. at Dunkin's, where I no longer worked at, and brought her to her mother, Crystal, so she could stay there because it was better for Harmony. Then you came and picked me up when my shift was done at 2 p.m. She wasn't in the car. She was with her mother. During those years of having to keep quiet, you started physically and mentally abusing me, accusing me of cheating on you, telling on you, and trying to kill you. The first time that you really hurt me was when you accused me of cheating and had me on the living room floor against the corner of the wall, telling me if I didn't tell you that I cheated on you, that you were going to F me up. When I never cheated on you and said that I didn't, you punched me right in the face a couple of times because you said I was lying, and I wasn't. So then I said, yes, I cheated on you so you wouldn't hit me, but you still did anyway. You started getting crazy when we would get high on crack. I told you I did things that I really didn't do because you said if I told you that I did whatever you'd accuse me of, that you wouldn't hit me, and I was dumb enough to believe you. No matter what I said or did, you would hit me, punch me, spit in my face, or would have me in a chokehold and cover my mouth so I couldn't scream. You were not the person I married, not the person who loved me and who never hurt me. It's like I married my father. I never would have thought I would have to run away from you until I knew I had to take our kids and leave you. I'll never forget that day either. It was one of the hardest things for me to do. The last couple of nights after you got arrested the first time, I was sleeping with a knife because I did not know what you were going to do to me. After I found out that you got arrested, I went back to our apartment to grab a few things, and then I made the decision of not going back to live there anymore. I couldn't stay in the apartment after a year of chaos with you in there. Just all bad memories, barely any good ones. We had about 5 months total that year of living there that were good times. Other than that, nothing but bad memories. I'm so angry and hurt by you. I know you probably hate me because I had to do the right thing, but also because of all the bad. Not only did you lose your rights to our children, but so did I. Now I'm going to have to keep fighting for them to at least be back in their lives. You seem to forget you cheated, not me, and you just left the kids and I for some girl, packed your stuff, and left to another state. I called you out on your BS when you were on your way to Maine, and I also called you out for being with someone else months before you left to Maine. You accused me, but you were the one cheating. The day you got arrested on January 2022, you called me and said to tell Kelsey you're sorry about her car. Yeah, right. That's all you're worried about, not your wife and children you may never see again. No apology for cheating on me and making me think I was crazy. So I got to do all I can to get back
Statement is
on
bullshit.
track with my life. You
Couldn't
caused
have
so
been
much
right
hurt and
there.
pain. I don't even know why I still care about you and actually feel bad for you. Oh, maybe it's because I'm not a cold, heartless person and still have some care about you. I was in love with you once. Now I still love you because you're the father of our children.
She
This
would
is goodbye for
that.
now. Maybe I'll see you at the future in some point. Goodbye, Adam. And then she lists the day they started their relationship was October 8th, 2015. And the day they married was Harmony's birthday, June 4th, 2017.
That was complete bullshit.
Your Honor, one family member who I haven't heard from yet is with regards to a very young man. This is Harmony's younger brother, Jameson. He lived with Harmony up until the age of 1, saw her as late as 18 months in his life. Both of his parents are here, Mr. Blair Miller and also Mr. Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and they have a statement they would like to present.
Show them what real fathers are like.
Your Honor, thank you so much for allowing us to speak here today. Good afternoon.
Introducing Children's Astapro Allergy, up to 24-hour relief of nasal congestion. Astapro
From foster care. Jameson and his sister, Harmony, were in and out of different foster homes together. They seem to be on a path of surviving their troubling relationships, their circumstances together. To understand the true impact that this loss has had on Jameson and will continue to impact him, you need to hear the stories he tells us and wants you to know. He wants everyone to know. When we first adopted Jameson, he would always tell us about Harmony. He would tell us about her beautiful blonde hair. He would tell us about her glasses. He still does. He would tell us about her bright blue eyes. He would tell us about her wonderful smile that lit up a room. he would tell us that she was there to help him. Jameson has constantly asked us, where's Harmony? Recently, he once was struggling to go to bed. He looked off in the shadows of his closet and said, is that Harmony there, looking back at me? These are no questions for a little boy to be asking. He no longer can hold on to that hope. Since learning about the death of innocent and beautiful Harmony, Jameson has suffered. Just a few weeks ago in school, his teacher asked him to draw a picture of his family. He drew a picture of his 2 dogs, his 2 brothers, his 2 dads, but then he put a heart above all of us, and inside that heart was the letter H. He said that was Harmony looking down on us. Jameson constantly asks us, who took my sister away? Adam, you took away his best friend, his sister. You introduced murder into his life and forever created a void that can never be filled. We will never have the right answers for him on this and can only tell him Harmony is an angel now. Jameson will grow up forever wondering how this happened, how his sister, who looked over him in foster care, didn't have anyone looking over her. You chose, Adam, to take our little boy's sister away. You don't ever deserve another choice in a free society. Your Honor, we are asking you to impose the maximum sentence.
Your Honor, this courtroom, and especially Adam, I'm Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and I'm the proud adopted dad of James Miller, the proud young brother of Harmony. Harmony is the reason that we're all here today. Harmony, the child Adam that you murdered, you introduced a nightmare into our son. You introduced evil of this world to him. You have manipulated the criminal justice system until now, and trying to explain that to our 7-year-old son is hard. Before Jameson knew of Harmony's tragic fate, he would go to the door when the doorbell rung, and he would say, maybe she's found me. He would search a park, he would look at school, and if there was any girl that had blonde hair and glasses, he would go up to them and say, are you Harmony? I'll never forget the day that we told Jameson that Harmony was in heaven. He's a very active kid. And that day he just stopped and he held us and he said, no, I need my big sister. Why? Why did this happen? These are questions that Jameson has had and continues to ask. Daddy and Dada, what happened to my sister? Why did she die? Why would anyone hurt her? How about her glasses? Were they okay? My God, how will we ever help him process this horrible and brutal details of his big sister? Adam, you have to know you did that. As we celebrated Jameson's birthday in 2019 with the Mickey and Minnie Mouse theme, we had Mickey Mouse there. It's a Disney theme that he shares with his big sister and his mom. He wanted to save a gift from her that day, made from his Nana. It was a Minnie Mouse pillow, but instead, you were beating her to death. That was the same day. If Jameson was old enough to speak to this court today, he would want you to know the void that you left in his heart that can never be filled. Adam, he would plead with you to please tell us where she is. Let him have a place to go and remember his sister, please. He remembers her feeding him. He remembers when they would be at his foster home when she was there, that they would play in the park together. He remembers her glasses. He remembers how proud she was. How do we tell our 7-year-old that you murdered his sister, his protector, his best friend, and you showed no remorse? I wish they could be happy together today. Jameson asked, is she unhappy in heaven? If she can see him, and if we can visit her, why would anyone hurt her? That's what you've done to her son when you beat his sister to death. In her family, we really believe in love and forgiveness. I'm just not sure how to teach her son how to forgive the monster that murdered his sister. We as a family are leaning on God for that. Jameson also knows about the helpers. He knows about this court. He knows about the jury. He knows about the police from the local to federal. He knows about this community. We've told him these were the people that helped his sister when she was hurting. I'd like to share with you a few words that Jameson, as we were talking to him, because he wanted to know, where are you guys going? What are you doing? And I said, we're going to speak for your sister, and we're going to tell everyone how important she was to you. And this is what he said. Tell everyone my name is Jameson. I'm 7 years old. My sister's Harmony. I love Harmony. I miss her. I hope I get to see her again. My sister had beautiful blue eyes, and we smile alike. I liked having fun with her on the playground. She gave me a broken Elmo toy that was hers. I still have that, but I have the Minnie Mouse pillow and a new Elmo that's not broken. I keep it in my closet for her. I'm really sad she's an angel. I miss her. She was my best friend. I hope she can see me playing basketball, being silly with my brothers. And I wish I could bring Harmony to my school to meet my friends and my teacher. She loves the color purple and Minnie Mouse. I made a heart for her in purple and red with mirrors so I can look for her in heaven. I hope she sees me. The red is for my heart and the purple is for her. I love my sister. I miss her. I hope she's eating M&Ms in heaven. I hope her glasses are safe and not broken. And I miss you, and I will always love you, big sister. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, finally, with us today is Harmony's foster mother, Michelle Rafferty. Harmony was alive for 66 months in this world. And for 44 of those months, she was with the Raffertys, Michelle and her husband, Tim. They've both prepared a statement as well and would like to speak with you today.
I don't know what comes next, but I know there are great.
Your Honor, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here today. This is truly the hardest thing I have ever had to do. My name is Michelle Rafferty, and along with my husband and my 5 children, we have the privilege of being Harmony's foster family. We shared our hearts, our home, and our life with her, and she filled our lives with joy and laughter. We lost a daughter, and my children lost their sister. We grieve for her every day because we thought we'd always see her again. Harmony was full of life and always happy. We jokingly told her that she leaves a sparkle wherever she goes. She loved to be in the middle of everything that was going on, and she never missed a beat. Harmony always had 2 mummies, me and Crystal, but only had one daddy, and that was my husband, Tim. I am beyond grateful Harmony had the relationship with a loving daddy and knew what that relationship should look like. She loved being a sister and had an amazing bond with our youngest daughter. And when our second daughter had her baby, she was delighted to be an auntie. Harmony was a friend to everyone, but she also had a best friend named Dominic. She loved going to church and loved going to school. She loved Minnie Mouse, playing outside, playing dress up, playing house, and loved to cuddle. She had a large community that she loved, and they loved her. She was kind and compassionate and always willing to share, even her Oreo cookies and favorite doll stroller. Since everything came to light, I have had trouble sleeping and concentrating. We had to explain to our children things that we never wanted them to hear and explain to them why a father who was supposed to love and protect her was being arrested for murder. Your Honor, I'm asking you to give Adam the fullest sentence. Adam is hateful and selfish and continues to be so by not telling us where her body is. Adam knew he could have brought Harmony back to us. He had options, but always chose himself each time. He never put Harmony first. There were consequences for his actions, and he will have to live with them the rest of his life. Our family is strong and beginning to heal by the grace of God. We know Harmony is safe in the arms of Jesus, never to be hurt again. So despite the evil brought to light in this trial, we will continue to move forward in love because love wins. Thank you, Your Honor.
Love wins. Throw the book at him.
Your Honor, in addition
Literally,
to those
throw it at
statements,
him.
the state is asking you to consider not only all of the details and the facts that you heard during trial, and not only as you would for any defendant, their criminal history, of which is laid out there and which this court is already well aware of. But we are also asking the court to take into account 2 additional charges which are still pending.
Coward.
Firearm that was belonging and was owned by a Mr. Ewell, and also a high point handgun. These are 2 charged but not yet adjudicated offenses that can be considered by the court when it comes to sentencing. We did not ask you to take the defendant's murder of his daughter into account at the last sentencing for the other firearms, given that it had occurred before her death. But these 2 not yet tried armed career criminal charges, offenses for weapons belonging to Mr. Ewell and the high point handgun, should be considered to show that the minimum does not apply to this man. The court is already aware of the defendant's statements to many other people, many other people through many different facets of his life, with regards to being asked where his daughter was and for him to lie to them. This was subject to many different interpretations. The court has discussed this on different different times, in different hearings. With regards to those events, and with regards also to the gun crimes that I speak of, Mr. Ewell's firearm and the high point handgun, we feel that the state has already shown the requisite level of certainty that the defendant has done these crimes. He's been indicted by the grand jury. We've discussed them. Parts of the evidence that support them have already been presented to the court. But we have also asked for Detective John Dunleavy to be present from the Manchester Police Department, who can provide additional information if the court so chooses to hear that. So at this point, I would leave it up to the court's discretion if and when the court should be considering those 2 charges as part of coming up with the appropriate sentence for the defendant today. But he is here in the courtroom.
All right, thank you. I don't feel that I need to hear from him at this juncture. If the court feels it necessary to hear from him, I will do so later. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor, one of the things that you saw during trial were the many different ways in which the defendant tried to conceal his crime, not just physically, but also with false statements and lies to others. Lies as to where she was, as to what had occurred, where it had occurred in the car, where he was at the time. Even lies, as you heard from some witnesses, as to whether or not he loved or cared for Harmony in the first place. You heard and saw the defendant try to sell his lies to anybody that would listen. And why does that matter? Because it's one thing to deny the charges that the state then, and hold the state accountable to bring forth proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But it's another one to actively lie and deceive and blame others. And a defendant who does that, like this defendant did, is different and is deserving of more than the minimum punishment. You've even heard yourself how the defendant tried over and over again to get Kayla Montgomery to lie for him. The testimony we heard at trial included the verbal threats to her, beating her, photographs that we saw of her black eyes, testimony from other independent witnesses of him either hurting her or her running away, being injured, or grabbing a cell phone out of her hands and manipulating her even months later to get rid of telephones that had evidence of the crimes on them. You've seen those bruises. You've heard those stories from independent eyewitnesses. That was not just an attack on her. That was an attack on our system of justice. And to hold him accountable for that independently, consecutively, to the actual underlying crime of the homicide and the second-degree assault from before. As you've seen in this case, if we don't do that, if we don't hold people accountable for those actions afterwards, then the criminal justice system is failing because it allows defendants everywhere under the concept of general deterrence to think that they can tamper with witnesses and destroy evidence. And if they're caught, well, it'll just be subsumed by the underlying crime. That's another reason why the more than the minimum sentence is necessary. And finally, I'm not going to go into full detail on it, Your Honor, but you've seen in the state sentencing memorandum, there are 3 cases that are on point. And when looking for comparison here, and those are State versus Caitlin Marin, State versus Mark Heath, and State versus Chad Evans, all cited in our sentencing memorandum. In those matters involved individuals who were convicted of reckless second-degree murder for injuring children. And all 3 of those individuals, either immediately after trial or at sentence review, all had sentences that were in their 40s. And all 3 of those people didn't have the criminal history that this defendant has. And all 3 of them didn't do afterwards to their victims and what they did to their bodies, what he did to Harmony. So in the state's mind, how can the defendant here get anything less for that? His behavior is worse. When we look at that, if and when he should ask for sentence review after today, if they look at that, we don't feel that there's any way that they could equate that his behavior was less than theirs or that his punishment should be less than theirs. There's nothing about this little girl's death or her suffering or what her father did afterwards that can ever be classified as minimal. He is still determined 5 years later that she have no peace, no justice, no rest. So the state is asking you to do what justice requires, and that's nothing less than the state's recommended sentence. Harmony deserves it, her family deserves it, the people of the state deserve it, and definitely this defendant deserves it. Thank you.
I'm hoping for 50 plus years.
Attorney Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Man's a coward.
I'd like to start reading from State versus Willie at 163 New Hampshire 532.
I can't stand his.
We held that just as it is unconstitutional to increase a defendant's punishment because he refuses to admit guilt, so too is it unconstitutional for a court to draw an adverse inference of lack of remorse from a defendant's silence at sentencing. Because the only affirmative way for a defendant who maintains his innocence through the criminal process to express remorse at sentencing is to forgo his right to remain silent. Using a defendant's silence at sentencing to infer that he lacks remorse generally violates the defendant's constitutional privilege against self-incrimination. The state said that their offer to reduce or offer a reduced sentence of 35 years if Adam Montgomery took particular action within the next 7 days, and his reaction to that reflected heartless, immoral, no remorse. You can imagine, anybody can, that somebody walking into a sentencing hearing
have to
for
admit
something where he maintains his innocence that he did not do would be a difficult situation. That person would be assisted by his counsel, who would understand that being vilified for something that you didn't do would be difficult, who would understand that when people are trying to throw him away forever for something that you didn't do would be difficult in the courtroom. The state was doing a stunt. They were seeking a reaction today from Adam Montgomery in the courtroom by their stunt for something that they said, give us 7 days. And then Mr. Montgomery, acting appropriate with his counsel's representation, was called heartless, immoral, and no remorse.
He's a coward.
Mr. Montgomery does not have to express remorse here for something where he maintains his innocence. It would violate his constitutional rights against self-incrimination.
I know she's doing her job, but
And talk a little bit about the use of priors as argued in the state's memorandum to elevate what is a sentence as a mandatory minimum that is extraordinarily high. And it is high because anytime a child dies an innocent child
35
dies
years is the minimum,
deserves a
it's
strong
not enough.
punishment. And the legislature has spoken with a mandatory minimum of that punishment. The lack of rehabilitation is what the priors are put on for. I don't think anybody can permit what another person would be like after 35 years of incarceration. To assume the lack of rehabilitation for prior records that occurred from the time that Mr. Montgomery was quite young, that many, fueled by drug and drug addiction that was introduced to his life by some of the very witnesses, family
walking
members,
out on this BS.
wives,
I
who
don't blame 'em.
participated in maintaining his addiction and in a lot of the conduct that he did in the prior record. He is worthy of rehabilitation.
No, he's
especially
not.
After what would be the mandatory minimum under this sentence.
No.
The use of the remaining charges also are inappropriate here. You did not consider the charge of homicide at his prior sentencing on the armed career criminal charges that he faced May a year ago. But you did consider the armed career criminal charges, or at least you didn't indicate that you didn't. And the state certainly argued that they should be considered as well. All of that conduct occurred in a relatively short time period. And while we dispute the probable cause, even the law says that you can consider the grand jury indictment as probable cause, which I think is completely inappropriate, but that is the law. However, his sentences on armed career criminal took into account both his prior and his subsequent gun charges. He's serving a sentence currently of what comes to be about 32, because he got 15 as a minimum on one, 15 as a minimum on another. The 5 years of the 7-year minimum on the final charge that you sentenced him on, you suspended 2 years. Didn't even totally give him the max on that, but certainly increased his sentence in your evaluation of his prior conduct, as well as the pending gun charges.
His whole defense is I'm
Another
innocent.
issue I need to
I grew up badly.
address, and I'm afraid we only addressed part of it in chambers. My fault. The names of the no contact order I don't have, so we don't have a position on that as far as the names. However, since the state has asked for an incarcerated sentence on each of the charges, I don't believe a non-contact order can be issued on the charges under interpretation of current law. However, I will say that the names will be provided to Adam, and I can assure this court that Adam will not seek any contact with the Sorrell family. So sorry, family. So, what do you do for sentencing Adam Montgomery? Adam Montgomery does not dispute the time sought by the state for abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. The state has requested maximum sentences on that, consecutive.
Shut up.
And Adam does understand that it affected the investigation, and that behavior affects justice in the court system. And he does not dispute the sentences requested by the state on that. However, while he maintains his innocence, he also knows that you will be sentencing him on the other charges because he has been convicted.
You should be worried.
And any other action he takes will have to be after sentencing. So as to the other charges, while he maintains his innocence on each of them, he can't offer a sentence because no sentence would be fair for him to say that they would be fair when he is maintaining his innocence and he did not commit those charges. So he can't offer you something that's appropriate for them, but he would request that you take into account his objections to the memorandum and especially his silence here at sentencing as being an appropriate position to take when he is asserting his innocence. We request that the court issue a sentence that is less than what the state has asked and that it make the remaining charges concurrent with abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. Adam Montgomery did not kill his daughter, but when he discovered his daughter's death, he broke and he did inexplicable things. Even he can't explain his actions, but eventually he pulled it together.
Still
and he was
blaming
able to
Kayla.
say goodbye to his daughter. And that's what he did. I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes,
No,
you
you
may.
may not. Just finish and go sit down. Yeah, I agree, Cheeks.
Actually,
Oh, come on. Just sit down.
my co-counsel has reminded me of something, and again, this was something that was not in the sentencing memorandum, and it was last minute, and it is the stunt that was pulled by the state, and it is that plea offers, responses, negotiations are inadmissible, and I think that they are inadmissible for any purpose, including sentencing. Certainly, I know in other cases, if I was to say the state offered something pretrial and now they're seeking twice that, the state would shut me down under that rule. 410? 410. So I think that entire stunt should be stricken from the record as well.
Sorry, already in our memories.
Briefly, Your Honor, I made no such comment about plea offers that were made prior to trial in any way, shape, or form. When I called the defendant heartless, immoral, selfish, and unapologetic, and in doing so, it's about the two crimes that he has admitted that he has done. It's the falsifying physical evidence and it's the abuse of corpse, which he admitted and even told the jury that they could find him guilty of. Those are the ones relating to the placement of the body. There's no reason to hold on to that piece of information with regards to that. The statement is not offering anything because this completely lies within the hands of the court. The statement is to make the change of what the state's recommendation would be. It's not an offer of a guaranteed sentence in any way, shape, or form. And again, it's on those charges, the one where he does not maintain his innocence anymore, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. I think just separately, Your Honor, with regards to the victims that the state is asking for the no contact order, that would include Crystal Sorey and her family, Sorey. That would also include the Miller family, Your Honor, and that would be Harmony's brother's family, and as well as the Rafferty family. I can provide those spellings to the court monitor afterwards. I think those are the only additional things that the state wants to add.
Attorney Gotti, what do you say to the state v. Toll issue that's raised by the defense about the no contact order on stand committed sentences, where all of the sentences that you're asking for in this case are stand committed, but you're also asking for the no contact provision?
Your Honor, I think with regards to that, rather than to prolong this particular hearing, the state would then also ask for a $5,000 fine on each felony for that to be suspended for the period so that the no contact order can be obeyed during that time period. And if he violates the no contact order, then that could be imposed.
Suspended for what period?
I would say suspended for a period of Well, on the 2 Class B misdemeanors, I would say suspended for at least a period of 7 years upon the beginning of that serving of that sentence. And for the charge of second-degree murder, I would say beginning on for a 20-year time period, beginning when he starts serving that sentence.
Do you want to address that, Attorney Smith? I'm just thinking about that for a moment. I mean, Attorney Agati, on that, the consequence of a violation of the order would be the imposition of the fine.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
For clarity in sentencing, I think 5,000 is illegal for any one of those charges, although certainly combinations of certain charges can equal that amount. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, because as I said, with regard to the family, Crystal Sorey and her family, Mr. Montgomery will not be reaching out to any of them.
Don't care.
Thank you.
Council
Council approach for just a minute.
So this man was offered a big knockdown of his sentence if he would tell them where Harmony is. And he refuses to do so because he's claiming he's not guilty of killing her. Well, that's fine and dandy. But you did admit that you abused her corpse and you put it somewhere. So why not still tell them where she is? It's because he has no heart. He's spiteful. He's a coward. And that's his control, keeping that control over the families. I hope he is. Oh, he makes me chewing on his lips. You've never seen him like this before. Normally, he is all cocky and conceited. He ain't that way now, is he? He knows he's going to kiss his life goodbye.
All right, nothing further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to take a 15-minute recess so I can consider all of the information and statements that have been provided, and then I'll come back and announce my sentence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right.
I would just throw the book at him. Throw the book at him. I mean, I understand that there's a minimum. Okay, you guys, I get it. But when you have old laws and sentencing laws and guidelines that do not account for what this man did, that judge should be able to give him more. And that's why the state is asking that. And I absolutely agree with the fact that they are asking for more. I thought Crystal's speech was going to get me. It was the father's of the brother that got me. Oh my God. I mean, you guys saw it. I was bawling right along with you. But they're right. How do you tell a 7-year-old that his sister's never coming home because the man that is supposed to protect her is the one that took her away? How? Won't matter what you get, buddy. You're going to get dealt with soon enough. Yep. He admits he did something with her but won't tell them. Yeah. I hope he does get the max. I have never liked his attorney, okay? I have never liked her. But for her to sit there and just say that he is innocent and didn't do it is a bunch of BS. He was convicted of it. You know dang well he did it by the evidence that was provided in the trial. And to say he had a hard life growing up and that he can be rehabilitated is a bunch of BS. Because look at how many charges this man has had in his lifetime. He still is not rehabilitated. They can charge people with abuse of corpse, sarcastically speaking. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Cheeks, you're right. At least he got to grow up. He took that chance away from his daughter. I hope they find her. I really do. I want them to find her so that his control over Crystal and her family, the foster family, and even the little brother, it's all gone then. It's all gone. He has nothing to hold over them if they find her. And I pray that they do. I absolutely pray that they do. Hard life growing up is being taken away from your mother. Hard life growing up is being taken away from a foster mother and foster father who love you and cherish you. From being taken away from your brother. From all of your brothers. Because don't forget, she's got 2 brothers from Adam and Kayla. He'll never tell. That's the only control he has left. He will never tell. He'll take it to his grave. They already offered him a sweet deal and said that if he would tell them where she is located, they would change their sentencing recommendations, and he rejected it. Cecil, that should have never been allowed in there. That statement by Kayla, basically what that says is, I love you. If you were out here, I'd still be with you. Even though you did horrible things to me, I would still take you back. That was complete BS. That was all about her, and this is not about her. It's about Harmony. He won't tell because that proves he's guilty. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Makes me so angry. Piece of crap. Yeah, I hope she never gets her boys back either. Sorry, everybody. I'm getting updates as we're waiting for the judge to come back. Updates. My daughter's coming home from college today. So what does everybody think? What do you think he's going to get? 30 to 40, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 plus. I'm hoping he's getting 50 plus because he doesn't ever deserve to get out of prison. Never. Well, technically the minimum is 35. UPS coming down the driveway. 30 to 40, you think? I'm hoping for 50 plus. Piper, stop barking. I'm hoping for 50 plus. All right, give me a minute, guys. I'm going to mute. I have to run to the bathroom. And then I'll be back to chat with you. All right, sorry about that, but I'm taking some of my antibiotics, and all of a sudden I gotta go and I gotta go. Oh, rescue all the dogs. I expected something completely different from Kayla. I should have known better than to expect that. Of course, she would make it all about her. I 50 max, yes, 50. I hope. Well, if he gets 50, it's going to be life because of the other sentence he got on the gun charges. They blasted him on that too. Why, when adults are the perp gets life or DP, seems when kids are the victims, it's less. It does. He can't get the DP because New Hampshire doesn't have that. She got an 18-month sentence, see through, and she's already been paroled. She's getting out soon. I think they need to go over these sentencing guidelines on a lot of these laws and redo them, because they've been this way for years and decades, and with the way that these crimes are happening today versus 30, 40 years ago, these guidelines need to be redone so that the sentencing guidelines are higher. Yeah, you're right. Nobody would shed a tear for that except her. Cheeks, yeah. I hope so. And I don't get this, okay? This jail thing that goes on. I mean, I do get it, but I don't get it. It's okay if you kill an adult, but if you kill a child, those other killers don't like that, and they go after you. We already know that after his conviction, he was already beat up once. So there's a prison code, and they don't like it when you do these things to kids. Now, don't get me wrong. Others, I mean, look at Dahmer. He had kids and adults, and they took him out eventually. They were biding their time before they did it. Let him live comfortably, somewhat, and then took him out. But he should have, he should just be a man instead of a coward and tell them where this little girl is. But he won't. Hey, Carrie, how you doing? So once again, for those just coming in, this is the sentencing of Adam Montgomery for our precious little angel, Harmony. Earlier, the prosecution did put out a sentencing guideline. Basically, they're asking for 56 years, even though the minimum is 35. And the prosecutor did state that if Adam would tell them within 7 days where Harmony could be found, they would change their sentencing to 35 years. Well, he rejected that. Absolutely rejected it, because for one, he'd have to admit that he was guilty of killing her, but not necessarily, because he's already said he's guilty of moving her, destroying her body, and all that. I have heard that too, Cecil. I think that's all part of the pecking order in prison. And it's not just taking him out, it's just roughing him up and everything. So I still don't think it's right that Kayla only got 18 months. She should have gotten more charges than what she did. She hid this. She knew about it. She knew exactly what happened and hid it for how many years. Wasn't until the prosecutor came to her and said, "We'll give you this deal if you actually tell us the truth." And that's the only time that we know of that she told the truth. And if you weren't here for her statement, supposed to be a victim statement on behalf of Harmony, it wasn't. It was all about her. Should have never been allowed. But it goes to show exactly what she's like and what Adam's like. And like I said, she may have been paroled. She's going to get out, but I don't think she's going to stay out. I think she's going to fall right back into drugs and end up back in jail. And I pray that she doesn't have anything to do with her kids. After hearing her creepy letter, I wonder if she had more to do with Harmony's demise. I've always wondered that. But I think part of it is, too, that if Adam was taking it out on Harmony, he wasn't taking it out on her at that time or at that specific moment. And that's why she didn't stop him. Now, I didn't know that they were actually sober for 5 years, or he was. I find that hard to believe. Because they said the whole time, she said in her letter, the time that he was fighting for Harmony, that they had been sober, and they were both so excited to get her. And then shortly after they got her is when they relapsed. I don't know that I believe that for a second. Don't believe that for a second. And I don't ever see either one of them being rehabilitated. I mean, if you watched her parole hearing, she was a complete mess yet. Yeah, great point, rescue all the dogs. That's just Kayla trying to sway the narrative. Yeah. All I know is that Crystal Sari's family has grown. Right before the judge, or right after the judge left, you did see Jameson's parents both get up and hug her. So it's obvious that they do include her in the family and that Jameson does see her, which is good. Yeah, 5 years sober BS. Yep. And Crystal nailed that. in her statement. It's all about the control over Crystal and about the fact that he had money coming in. And that's the only reason he wanted Harmony. I think Crystal's statement was dead on. And when she was done, you could tell he was not happy with her statement. But the statement that got me was Jameson's father's. Because they were dead on too with what they said about him. And hearing what the little boy said, oh my goodness, broke my heart in tiny, tiny pieces. Just shattered. I feel for all of them. They're all affected in this. The mother, the foster mother and foster father, and the two adopted fathers. They are now an extended family joined by this horrendous situation. It's just that little boy, I'm so glad that he has the two adopted fathers that love him and are trying to. This little boy's 7 years old. They're trying to explain things to him the best that they can. Just checking on it here. Come on, Judge. Come back. Oh, here we go. Turn her mic on.
The crimes that you have committed and the harm that you have caused cannot be overstated. You took a human life,
and you did so in the most callous and heartless of ways. You robbed a 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the life that she was to lead. You stole from your sons a sister. You took a daughter from her mother. You were convicted of reckless second-degree murder. Reckless in this context does not mean something that was an accident. It is defined under law as something that manifests the extreme indifference to a human life. Your extreme indifference to the value of human life is seen in so many of your actions in this case. In 2019, you beat Harmony. In the words of your uncle, her eye was fully black and blue like a raccoon eye, is what he said. Mm-hmm. Your words, when asked, were, quote, "I bashed her around the effing house." And then you hid her from the view of others, and you kept her from those that came to help her. On the date that you murdered her, you didn't hit her once. You punched her in the head repeatedly. You beat her in the car while at stoplights, more than one time. You knew that she was severely injured, yet you covered her with a blanket and didn't check on her until after you took her lifeless body from the car. And then, after her death, you treated her body like it was trash. Worse than trash. You did unimaginable things to her body, and all in an effort to save yourself from being discovered as her murderer. And then, on top of that, you threatened, abused, and beat your wife to keep her silent. Your criminal history similarly reflects your extreme indifference to the value of human life. Your actions having taken both a physical and emotional toll on so many. In 2008, you were convicted of criminal threatening after pointing a knife at a 15-year-old girl. In 2010, you were convicted of armed robbery and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon in a home invasion incident in which it was reported that you held up a woman at gunpoint, terrorizing her to the point that she lost control of her bodily functions. In 2009, you were convicted of first-degree assault for stabbing another person. In 2014, you were convicted of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and larceny in a case in which it was reported that you shot a man in the face. In 2019, you were convicted of 2 counts of armed career criminal, 2 counts of theft, and 2 counts of receiving stolen property, all of the charges stemming from the thefts of firearms, guns, exchanges of guns for drugs and money. The court has to consider 3 primary goals of sentencing: punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. The focus today is on your convictions in this case: second-degree murder, falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, abuse of a corpse, and second-degree assault. But the prior convictions are important, and they're important as well as each of them reflects not just your extensive criminal conduct, but each of them represents an opportunity after sentencing for you to have changed the trajectory of your life.
Exactly.
To change how you were treating other people. But you were either unwilling or unable to do so. And as a result, at this point, the court has the responsibility to impose a sentence that not only punishes you harshly for the crimes that you have committed, but considers deterrence, that is, how to keep you from hurting others. In light of the egregious nature of the crimes of which you have been convicted in this case, and taking into consideration your extremely violent criminal history, the court finds the only way to do this is to keep you off the streets. Yes. To the extent you seek to rehabilitate yourself, that will have to happen behind the prison walls. Harmony was an innocent 5-year-old girl. You treated her in the worst of possible ways, in both her life and in her death.
Yes.
Therefore, the court sentences you as follows. On charge ID 2027112C, the charge of second-degree murder, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life nor less than 45 years. That sentence is stand committed. That sentence is consecutive. All of these sentences, I should say now, are consecutive to each other, as well as consecutive to docket 216-2022 CR 577, which are the sentences that you're currently serving. Additionally, you're to participate meaningfully and complete any counseling, treatment, or education programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation, parole. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of this sentence. This is also consecutive to the second-degree assault charge in the docket ending in 20. That is charge ID 1937947C. Do you have any questions about that sentence?
Nope.
On charge ID 2027113C, falsifying physical evidence. On this charge, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor 3.5 years. This sentence is stand committed, consecutive to all of the other charges that I'm about to read you, as well as consecutive to the second-degree assault charge and the docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You do have the obligation, as with the other sentences, to meaningfully participate in programming as directed by the correctional authority or probation, parole. You're ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of that sentence. On the charge of tampering with witnesses and informants, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. Again, this sentence is consecutive to the additional sentences that I've read to you that I'm reading to you in this case, as well as docket ending in 20 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You have the same obligations for participation in programming, and law enforcement may return evidence to its rightful owner. On the abuse of corpse charge, on this charge, you are sentenced to the maximum penalty of 12 months at the House of Correction. All of this sentence is suspended for 25 years. If it were to be imposed, it would be consecutive to the sentences that I read to you. And on this charge, you will also have the provision of a no contact order, and that is no contact with the Sori family, the Miller family, and the Rafferty family. That sentence is also consecutive, were to be imposed to all of the other sentences in this case and the sentence you're currently serving. On the second degree assault charge ID 1937947C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 8 years nor less than 4 years. This sentence is consecutive to the sentences in docket 216-2022 CR 2372. This is charge ID 1937947C. On this charge, you have the additional requirement, as you have in the other cases, to meaningfully participate in programming. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner, and you're obligated to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of the sentence. Do you have any question about those sentences?
No, I do not.
All right, before you go, counsel approach, please.
Okay, so in the first trial for the gun charges, he got 15 to 30 years. Now, if I added that up correctly with that last charge, she just gave him a minimum of 57 years. So that would be a total of 72 years for the 2 convictions that he would have to serve, which means he's in.
The sentences that I just reviewed with you, Mr. Montgomery, are imposed in light of the extended period of incarceration. The court will also make the finding that you do not have an ability to pay your attorney's fees, so there will not be an obligation for those in these matters. The clerk will now address you regarding sentence review.
Montgomery, you are hereby notified that you have the right to apply for review of the state prison sentence imposed on you on May 9th, 2024. The application may be filed within 30 days after the date of the sentence, but not thereafter except for good cause shown. If you file such an application, your sentence.
Nothing beats the crunchy, juicy, downright delicious chicken fingers from Raising.
The minimum or maximum term within the limits.
Okay, so.
Or there may be no change in the sentence. A form for making application, if you wish to do so, is set forth below. Mr. Montgomery, this applies for both cases 216-2022 CR 20 and 216-2022 CR 2372. I'll leave those with you.
Do you want to sign your name? Yeah.
And it's consecutive, meaning he's got to serve one, then he's got to serve the next one, then he's got to serve the next one. It's not all together, which is great.
Anything further for the state?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
All right, so they've muted it. So why wasn't this piece of POS locked away a long time ago? Good freaking question. Did you hear all those charges they read off? They weren't drug charges. Those were violent assault charges. Violent assault charges. Shot somebody in the face. Why was this man allowed to do this all along? And then Mark says the laws are for the victims. They have to change for the betterment of the victims, not the suspect. I agree, Mark. I said these sentencing guidelines are so old they need to go through them and redo them. Absolutely. I think it's fair to say this man will not get out of jail. He will be in jail, in prison for life. and I'm happy about that. I think he should have gotten the death penalty, but because Massachusetts or New Hampshire does not have a death penalty, this is the best we could hope for. For those of you who have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, any child in your life, please spend some time with them today. Give them some love, affection, and attention in memory of Harmony. Let's make sure we not just do that once a day, but multiple times a day, every day. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me while we received justice for Harmony Renee. Love you all. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.